I try to express to people what my rookie training camp was with Sean Payton. They try to turn boys into men in 6 weeks in training camp in New Orleans with the heat index at about 118. And I thought I was going to absolutely die.
This summer, former NFL great Jimmy Graham will be part of a four-person team taking part in the Arctic Challenge 2025. In a state-of-the-art rowboat, the four will be rowing across the treacherous Arctic Ocean, looking to raise money for charity and break the world speed record. Jimmy took a break from his intense training to get ready for this to talk with Athlon Sports about how his NFL career helped prepare him for this.
For all the off-season adventures and things that you have loved to do over the years, and helicopters and planes and skydiving and this and that, none of them all that safe necessarily, but this sounds like it's just another level.
I would always have coaches in the off season always text me and just say, Jimmy, you're the only person that could get away with this. Uh, but then again, everything I was doing was very risk. It was all about risk mitigation. I was either learning from the best or flying with the best and some of the best machines ever built. There's ways, especially being a pilot, some of the things I did. There's a way to go into it where you're all the gear, no idea. But I was always trained by complete experts. I took that very, very serious. One, my life. I love my life. I want to keep living my life happy and healthy. But two, I knew the commitment that teams had to me as well. I took that very serious. I know that I committed to be there for them and try to help them win games. So that was number one. But let's say there's this line right here. I think below that line can be your comfort zone with anything that you do, especially anything that's fairly dangerous. Then there's a line up here. In between that line is, so your comfort zone's below. This is the part that is uncomfortable for you. But above this and this line itself is your skill level. So if you can stay below that line but above your comfort zone, you will continue to get better. And your palate and understanding of what you're doing is at such a base that what might seem very dangerous to others is not for you whatsoever. And I think that's how I operated within aviation, skydiving, sailing, biking, everything. I've always ran my life like that. So I've been blessed enough to have a little bit of sense about me. But this is something that, I'm new to all this. I started all this a year ago. Never rode a boat before. I do know that my background does help me when from aviation, having 10 licenses, being commercial, everything. My understanding of weather is there. Navigation is there. But this is going into things that neither of us have. Well, maybe Andrew Trope, from being a SEAL. But the rest of us have never experienced. We've never experienced sleep deprivation to this level. We've never experienced all the things that could possibly happen. I think the biggest dangers of this, like compared to the other things I did between racing and flying, is the majority of things that could be an issue, I have control over, right? If the weather's bad, I can determine to not go that day or to go somewhere different or fly around it, fly above it. There's a lot of things I can personally do. With this, we're at the mercy of nature, and there's no running away from a storm. The max this boat will go is 3.5 knots. We're going to be on a drogue chute, and we're going to be in the cabins 2 and 2, holding on for a day or two, and just waiting for that thing to be over with. So I think that's the biggest thing is there's so many variables involved that no one, no two, or no four individuals can have complete control of what could possibly happen. So I think that's one of the crazier things about it. And one of the scary things for me is most of the things I've ever done have always been about risk mitigation. And this is a true first of just going into the unknown and embracing that and responding. I truly know that I will learn a lot about myself. I'll have many, many hours and days to think about my life, things I probably haven't thought about in forever. And, I know when I get back to land, I'm gonna be very appreciative of all the people that helped me got to that moment. Very appreciative of where I started and where I am now. And, just blessed to be back on land and have have the mission over and successful, and be able to do a lot for the organizations that we're doing this for.
There are those comparisons to the flying and biking and sailing and things like that. Not to, I mean, it's hard to imagine the comparisons, but as far as the training goes, is there anything from your NFL days, training camp, team bonding, or planning that is comparable or
Yeah,
prepares you?
yeah. I mean, I think so. I think one of the bigger things that we have had to make some like on the moment decisions, on the sea trials, all of us collectively, and I think my experience through making good decisions under pressure from playing football for so long, I think definitely helps me just staying calm, just having a clear vision and decision making at very very dangerous moments when things have to be decided. And two, I think just the palate for training. I've been working out since I was 15. Um, the longest I've taken off from working out was probably 2 weeks after I had wrist reconstructive surgery, and then I was training the rest of my body. Even after I blew my knee out, I was training my entire body to try to make my knee catch up. So, I think the palette for that, and just understanding that even with football, I try to express to people what my rookie training camp was. That was back in the two a days with Sean Payton, obviously a big tuna disciple. So they try to turn boys into men in 6 weeks in training camp in New Orleans with the heat index at about 118. And I remember, my first week, Jeremy Shockey had some back spasms on the second practice. So he couldn't practice, and I had to practice with the one, twos, the threes, and I had to do four core special teams. And I thought I was going to absolutely die. And the only thing that kept me going was, just one more route, one more play. And I think this will be kind of that mentality of, I just got one more session up there, and I'm gonna just do my best on that and just keep stacking that. And there's a lot of like misconceptions of what the NFL is. I think a lot of young kids, like I speak to a lot of kids and mentor a lot of kids and try to describe to them what being a professional athlete is. Most people, they see all the glory, right? They see the touchdowns, the Pro Bowls, they see the commercials, they see the fanfare. But the real moments, and the majority of the time, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of sacrifice, and it's a lot of suffering, especially after injuries. Coming back from my knee was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I had people tell me I never play again, a lot of doctors. And to march back and play 9 months later and make a Pro Bowl that year was, I don't, I genuinely have no idea how I did it. And I think those moments, and for the next 6 years, I would wake up some mornings and couldn't walk, and it'd be Sunday, and I was like, all right, well, let me get there 4 hours early and get this thing warm and see what happens. And I would end up scoring a game-winning touchdown or something. So I think those things, suffering through all that for so many years, this is just going to be 15 days or less, and that's all the suffering I have to do for this. And it's a lot easier to palate than a 7 month season.
If you say so. I mean, so you talked about 118-degree heat index. What about let's talk about the cold. It's not going to be comparable to what you're going to be doing in 40 days from now, but do you remember the coldest game you've played in?
Forget the games, the coldest practice. The games, you can always get up for that. It was always in Green Bay. We practice outside every day. We would start individual and start like routes on air and stuff like that, all inside stretch. So we'd get nice and warm, and they'd be like, all right, team drills outside, and everybody'd go outside. I remember one day it was probably 0 degrees. No, maybe three. It was single digits, and it was as if we were practicing in a snow globe. And we're not wearing sleeves because we're carrying the ball. So, and Aaron is throwing this ball like it's 90 degrees outside and just dotting you in the hands. It's like I remember it cutting through snowflakes That's how big the snowflakes were. So definitely Green Bay was a great preparation for this. Chicago as well. But the average air temperature up there is going to be 37 to 45 degrees, and the average water temperature is 28 degrees. The average wind is 17 to 27, gusting 34 to 42. So, um, I think I've had a little bit of prep for it, but in the end, it's just going to be suffering, keeping the digits and the feet dry and as warm as I can.
Miami to Isla Morada is not going to prepare you for
No,
that.
no.
So what goes on between? There are 40 days to go, literally,
Mhm.
right? Exactly
Yep.
40 days from today. So what's left?
What's left is we are finishing up our gear order to make sure we have the right gear as far as clothing goes to stay warm. And right now, starting January 1, I start 2-a-days. So on my biking, right now, biking only about 8 hours a week. Biking will step up. I'll bike probably 12 to 15 hours a week, and I'll start to row as well. So every time I get on the row machine, it's 20,000 meters or more. Um, so on like a Saturday, the idea is I bike 60 to 70 miles, and then at night I'll row uh, as to start with, like in the beginning of January, about 20,000 meters. And then I'll tick that up. I'll keep the biking consistent, but then I'll start to row more, 30 and 40,000. And then eventually towards the end, about a week out or 2 weeks out, I think about 2 weeks out, I'm going to do an all-nighter. So I'm going to spend about 24 hours just to prepare my back and just my sit bones and everything. And I'll just sacrifice a day of my life, and I'll row 2 hours on, 2 hours off for 24 hours nonstop. And I'll just work that kind of in. And then usually after that, I'll probably get maybe an hour's sleep, and then I'll try to do 80 to 100 miles on the bike. And and then after that, I think I'll be pretty good to go. Um, and June, I start to implement yoga and Pilates for core stability and stretching, just from past injuries. I've got shoulders and elbows, wrists and knees and hips and backs and all kinds of stuff. So
Sounds crazy, but amazing. So,
yeah.
so, so 15 days, would that be the record as far as you guys trying to break the record?
Yeah, the record is 15 days, 6 hours and a couple minutes. So we're going after the speed record for sure, unsupported obviously. We're on with Guinness Book of World Records. We're being tracked by the things that they need. We're going to have a tracker on our website, the Arctic Challenge 2025.org. We're also going to start something called the Million Meter challenge, where we try and raise or get people to donate $1 a meter, because this is going to be 1 million meters for us. So it'll be 500,000 meters in 2 weeks. And if we can raise, $1 a meter, it'll do some good work in New Orleans for their youth. I mean, it's going to be the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Definitely interesting to see where the mind goes, and how to sort that.